What's going on, everyone? Welcome to show number 279 of the ARC Junkies Podcast. Today's guest is Cliff Day, owner and operator of O2 Armor. I originally met Cliff through a mutual friend when I was working with Crew Collaborative. Cliff is a veteran Air Force pilot and a current commercial pilot. In this episode, we discuss his military service, different welding events we've attended, welding safety, and the story behind O2 Armor nasal filters. We'll get right into the show after a quick word from our supporters. Today's episode of the ARC Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Outlaw Leather. You know, in a world full of mass-produced products, it's rare to find true craftsmanship these days. That's why I love what Outlaw Leather's doing. They're keeping tradition and craftsmanship alive with their handmade custom welding hoods. Whether you're a professional welder, a part-time enthusiast, or someone who values quality style, Outlaw Leather's welding hoods are a game changer. Each hood is meticulously crafted to not only provide the protection you need, but also bring a unique style to your welding gear. With Outlaw Leather, you're not just getting a welding hood. You're getting a masterpiece that's as tough and durable as the folks that are wearing them. Outlaw takes pride in all their work. They've perfected the balance of form, function, and durability. Their hoods are made with premium leathers that age beautifully and develop a unique character over time, just like a true outlaw. Visit outlawleather.com to explore their entire collection. Remember, with Outlaw Leather, you're not just buying a product. You're investing in quality, supporting artists, and most importantly, becoming part of a community that values true craftsmanship. And as a listener of the ARC Junkies podcast, you can get 15% off all in-stock leather goods when you use ARC Junkies at checkout at outlawleather.com. We're also brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys, your one-stop shop for all things related to maintenance welding. Whether you're making repairs, installing wear plates, or hard-facing, Rockmount has everything you need. Have you ever tried to run a 7018 or a 70S6 wire across dirt, grease, oil, or paint? Doesn't end well, does it? So why waste your time and money using rods that aren't designed to weld in these conditions? Don't get me wrong, those electrodes work great for initial fabrication, but they're not the best choice for heavy equipment repairs out in the field. Rockmount's rods and wires are designed and formulated to weld in the toughest, harshest conditions and yield strong, durable, long-lasting welds. So stop putting Band-Aids on your equipment and switch over to Rockmount and get the job done right the first time, every time. Regardless of the welding process you decide to use, Rockmount has the rods and wires you need to tackle your next repair. Check them out today at rockmountwelding.com and get fast, easy shipping right to your door. And as a listener to the ARC Junkies podcast, you can get a free 1-pound pack of Tartan AAA when you spend $250 or more at rockmountwelding.com when you use AJP in the discount box at checkout. Weld stronger so your repairs can last longer with Rockmount. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the ARC Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, Cliff, how's it going?
Hey, man, pretty good. Good to talk to you again.
Oh, likewise. Thanks for coming out to the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I wanted to hit you up in Tampa, but we know that was kind of a cluster.
Dude, what was up with that? I mean, that was like the drama of the century down at that place. But
yeah, I don't get it. The first year, like I was trying to explain to everybody, I was like, the first year was kind of a shit show. I mean, but like that was expected. It was the first time a bunch of welders invaded a tattoo convention. So, I figured that the second year going forward, because we had a lot more vendors, a lot more participation this year. But once again, I think the organizer of the event really dropped the ball. And I think that the deal with that is he's trying to self-perform 100% of the work in order to, take 100% of the profits. And it's like, no, you can't, with an event that big, you got to sub that stuff out, whether it's, cleaning, security, like the whole 9 yards.
Well, and what it's so funny, it's a good segue. What I found out is you can't lone wolf stuff. You can't do it all yourself. I have to literally shop out all the extra stuff. I mean, we could talk more about this later, but as I'm building the company, it's like, well, I've done the initial thing, but now I can't do the broader part of maintaining the website for something like that.
Yeah, all the day-to-day logistics.
Exactly. And you just have to keep, shoveling off things so you can go to the most important thing. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting event. It was fun to go to, and we got a lot of community built between like you guys and Blue Demon and Fronius, all those guys that were down there. But half of our group didn't show up, so that was a shame too, because I wanted to hang out with them. And it was a financial disaster for us, but it was a phenomenal team building event. And we got to talk with Brian a little bit more. Got to talk with you and the artists. Those artists that were there were pretty great. Mm-hmm. And Cricket was cool, and of course the guys from Flame Tech. Chuck is always Chuck's always awesome to hang out with, and give you more stuff. And then we had, of course, the cornhole games from hell. It was just like phenomenal. People were having a good time with that. And little did I know that my team is a ringer, so we just kicked everybody's ass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So both Jessica and Josh are like, that's what they do all summer is cornhole.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm
they're out there. They
it, but like I've noticed if I don't have a drink in my hand, I'm horrible. But as soon as I get a beer in my hand, man, I could chuck that bag no problem.
Yeah, and that was pre-Bud Light, so
that whole incident. Yeah, but I was.
Literally, we were pre-Bud Light there. We were enjoying Bud Lights while playing cornhole. And now it's like a different story down there. But anyway,
yeah, I was hoping it was going to be a much better turnout, but I don't know. Hopefully, we can get something together, because I would like all the welding community to come down here and see what Central Florida has to offer. But I think FabTech will be a good, like a good introduction to Orlando for a lot of people that have never been out to the area. I thought it was pretty cool that they're migrating it down here in 2024.
It's so much easier than Vegas. Vegas is a nightmare sometimes. It's like it's kind of an S show, and I think Orlando will be way more fun.
Yeah,
and I think Cricket was actually talking about putting together a mini FabTech down there, which if he pulls it off, that might be fun to come down to too. So
yeah, that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, so we'll see what he has to say. He kind of helped with this one, and it didn't work out, but he was kind of upset with the way it worked out. But
I think the deck might have been stacked against him a little bit.
Yeah, excuse me.
No, you're good. The
everybody's getting over a cold up here.
So. Oh, that's no fun. Not Corona, right?
Oh no,
that's good. I think
that's just that's just in the cooler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
nice. So, Cliff, tell me a little bit about your background. I know that you're a military veteran, the Air Force, if I'm not mistaken. So, first of all, thank you for your service. But what was your job in the military?
So, I was a KC-135 pilot, and KC-135 is the tanker that gives fuel to other airplanes, bombers and fighters and transport planes, the C-141s and stuff like that. So I did that for 12 years. I was in Strategic Air Command in Minot, North Dakota, for 5.5 years. And sitting alert for the war, the nuke war and stuff like that. And then we got transferred to Mountain Home, Idaho, and that was a phenomenal place. Great people, good fishing, and which I really liked was the fishing. And and then when I was at Mountain Home, I was in the safety office. I was an accident investigator. We had and a safety investigator and whatnot in the wing safety office. So we would go to whatever mishaps happened. We had a pretty serious one happen while I was stationed there, and then a bunch of minor ones. So pretty good job. And kind of where the my kind of focus on safety in life is anyway, but kind of a family thing. Both my dad and my grandfather were in the military, and always safety oriented. And my dad was in the industry also, and he was safety. He was the first guy to bring home the foam earplugs, when we were kids. Oh, you got to wear these things. What are these?
Yeah, as long as they're not the 3M ones that everybody's going on about these days.
That's something different. These are just those, little yellow ones, simple little yellow ones that work like a champ. And, you use those for decades. You can still buy the same brand and they work. So,
yeah, I think a lot of people kind of undermine safety and don't understand the value of it, because they're mission focused. They want to get the job done, and it's like, okay, a lot of times safety seems cumbersome.
Right.
But it's not. Once you learn how to use it correctly and efficiently and everything, it becomes just like another tool in your tool bucket.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like the seatbelt thing, I grew up with cars. We grew up with cars that don't have seatbelts. I mean, we didn't have them, and then it's like then you have to have seat. That shows you how old I am. Then you had to have seatbelts, and it was just a lap belt. So you just wore a lap belt. And then this newfangled shoulder harness came out, and it just became habit. And then, of course, the government made it mandatory, which helped also too. But I mean, you don't get into the process of going to drive without putting your seatbelt on. It's an automated process. Mm-hmm. And so anytime you can get an automated process in your general thinking of a work job, like I'm going to put my safety glasses on. I walk into the shop and the safety glasses go on, or I wear my glasses, something to protect your eyes. And I don't go onto the flight line without earplugs, especially if there's like an APU running or something like that. So you just get used to doing that. And that's the whole thing about any kind of safety. It works when it becomes a habit. And getting to become a habit is the challenge for anything. And it's funny because one of your previous things you talked about grinders and stuff and getting a face shield. I went and bought a face shield because I've got some work to do with a grinder. And I'm like, well, shit, I don't have a face shield. But Jason says go get a face shield, so I went and just bought a face shield.
Yeah, and I'm just as bad. So like even when I do, because I'll do metalworking and woodworking in the garage. And I mean, there was a point where I bought this like brand new mini lathe. Well, actually, my buddy gave it to me. I had to buy a new motor for it, but I wanted to turn down I wanted to build like a custom TIG handle. So I ordered this epoxy resin like solid block. It's just like a rectangle, and I wanted to trim that down and make a TIG handle or a TIG torch handle out of it. And as I get everything chucked up in the lathe, and I was like, I should probably put my face shield on, and so I'll use it when I'm doing woodwork, on the lathe or anything. If I'm running the drill press or anything like that, I'll throw on my face shield. This past weekend, I'm building a custom sissy bar for my stepdad's bike. And
nice.
Because he wants to take the grandkids for a ride, and like he won't do it unless it's got a sissy bar on it. I mean, he's only going to go around the block or whatever, but he wants that, added to the bike. So I was like, oh yeah, no problem, I'll do it. But I found myself out in the garage making sure, I got my correct PPE on, safety glasses. In addition to that, I put my face shield on. I got my earplugs. Well, I use ISOTUNES, but they're safety rated for blocking out the noise and everything. They're just as effective as earplugs, but now I can listen to my Cody Jinks and everything while I'm out there in the garage tooling around. But yeah, I'm like safety oriented even when I'm not on the job site, even when the safety guy is not watching me, because like you said, it becomes second nature. It becomes a habit, and I think a problem that most people have in the industry is they've been doing it this way for 20 years. And it's hard to instill that new change. Okay, yeah, I know you've been walking the iron for 20 years. You've never fallen, but now we have to wear a harness, and they push back and they fight. And like I came up like right in the midst of it being a recommendation and it being a requirement. And so a lot of the, the old timers that I worked with, like we never wore harnesses. And then, as I start getting in more educated, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to put on my harness and I'm just going to make it a habit. You got to make it habitual. And I just think a lot of people, because they've been doing it for so long the other way, it's hard to get them to change. You got to change that mentality. You got to change that mindset.
Yeah, I've run into that my entire career, both military and civilian. I'm a civilian airline pilot. You have the same issues, and it can be safety. It could be just a procedure. You get this resistance. People have this, kind of bias to the way it used to be, and they won't get away from it. And then you're working against their ego, and I have to be right. It's like, I have to be right. Well, what's the cost of being right? Losing an eyeball or, getting cut.
Yeah.
Getting a sprain, whatever, get dropping something on breaking your foot, So there's a lot of that out there. And that's, and you've seen it, you were an instructor, you probably had to deal with that even with the young people you're dealing with. It's like, oh, I didn't know that, they're invincible.
Well, actually the ones that have never had any welding experience, I always ask, like, the first day of class, like, how many of y'all have like welding experience or metalworking experience or whatever? And the ones that raise their hand, those are the ones I keep my eye on the most, because they're bringing in the bad habits. Everybody else, they don't know anything other than what I'm getting ready to tell them. So it's like, okay, safety glasses for this, face shield. I actually went and made I call it the welding safety matrix. And I'll have to see if I can find it. If not, I'll build another one, because I know a lot of welding instructors will probably want it. But it essentially goes down on the left-hand column, in a vertical line. It lists out all the different tasks that as a welder or an iron worker you're going to perform, whether it's like grinding, cutting, drilling, welding, oxy-fuel cutting, plasma cutting, whatever. And then across the top, it has a list of all the different types of PPE, welding jacket, gloves, face shield, all the essentials. And then there's like, as you follow as you pick the task that you're getting ready to do, you can follow it down, from left to right and say, okay, there's an X in every box that is a required piece of PPE. So, if students were, since they're new to the program, we'd cover a lot of things, but before they went and did the task, I would say, hey, check the safety matrix, make sure you've got all your PPE that you need for what you're getting ready to do. So they could walk over there and say, okay, I'm getting ready to do some TIG welding. Okay, I need a long sleeve shirt. I'm definitely going to need safety glasses, going to need earplugs because there's just noise in the shop, welding helmet, this, that. But I mean, everything is laid out. So it kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out. So it's a lot easier for new welding students because they just don't have the bad habits. The ones that are coming in, that they've been in the industry a little bit, but don't know enough to get out and really do anything. That's why they're going through welding school. Those are the ones that, hey man, put your safety glasses on. Hey, put your welding jacket. Oh, I weld out sleeves all the time. Not in my class, you don't.
Not
put
my
your jacket
class,
on.
yeah. Exactly. And you're a Marine, so you can just tell them what to do.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you don't like it, I'll just send you home. I mean, like,
home.
I had no heartburn. Like, I'm getting paid the same whether you're, here today or not.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But that's the challenge we face. And it's interesting we're talking about this because as part of our, story about O2 armor and whatnot is, I started off kind of focusing on the shooting community, the gun ranges and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, I mean, love them to death. And it's kind of the community I wanted to be part of, but they are as pig-headed as it could be. They cannot see the problem. And then all of a sudden, we're doing the Instagramming, trying to advertise on Instagram and we get this huge sale. Like, I don't know, I saw like 50 pack, and then a guy ordered like 2 weeks later ordered 100 and then ordered 500. I'm like, what's going on? And I called this guy up. He says, oh, we got this welding shop in Philly and, guys love them. And, really welding? And, okay. I'm like, I never even thought about that in that sense, even though I thought the industry was fabulous. That it's really funny because even before that, I would, kids would go, well, what job should I get? Well, why don't you try welding? I've been welding positive for a long time. And because I thought, what a fun job. It's one that I used to joke, hey, I should go take some welding classes. My degree in college was metallurgy. So it's like this circle, it's like, and my, focus in school was like, my favorite part was like corrosion and stuff like that. And I never thought about welding. We would look at it once in a while, cut open welds and check them out and everything. And, but it's kind of like a funny circle around is that I have this knowledge in the back of my head that's, of course, 35 years old. It's like been a long time since I've been in college, 38 years.
Metal hasn't changed that much, though.
But metal hasn't changed much. And anyway, so it's funny how it comes around and then it's like smacks me in the side of the face and go, wait a second, welding. And that's right after that is when I contacted you. Janine told me to give you a call. And that's, from Crew Collab that you're doing. And she said, call Jason. I go, okay, call Jason. So that's, you're kind of part of the origin story. I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, you're early on is one of my first contacts in the industry. It's like, well, where do I go? Who do I talk to? And the cool thing is that you're like an instructor and you're totally open to helping out. So it's been a big deal. So,
yeah. And it just made sense. It's a pretty neat product that you got there. It's it's a completely different type of product. It comes from a complete different angle. Cause a lot of times you're either wearing a respirator or you're not. And there's really no in between.
Yeah. And you're bearded.
Now I'm bearded. When I was in the ironworker, I had like a goatee. And then 1 week out of the year, I was, like clean shaven because I had to go do a fit test. And when you do the fit test, regardless of whether you could get a proper seal with the respirator or not, you had to be clean shaven. Otherwise, the apprenticeship coordinator, he was like, if you're not clean shaven, like you're not getting a fit test. So I had to shave everything completely off, do the fit test, let my goatee grow back out, and I would maintain it enough to where I could still get a proper seal because I was working at the theme parks, and they do a lot of galvanized, they do a lot of stainless, they do a lot of aluminum, things of that nature. But the cool thing about O2 Armor is I only put a respirator on when I absolutely have to. Just because it's cumbersome. You put it on, you can't drink, you can't eat, you can't do nothing. You get this thing over your face. It's, a little bit more taxing on the body and everything to be able to breathe through that, especially throughout a long work day. But like with the O2 Armor, I can pop those in whether I'm actively engaged in the work or not. Right.
And what we're finding out clearly is anybody who's in the zone of a workshop, especially, most workshops are not what we call advanced workshops where they have like happers and ventilation. Most of them are just like open bay and we're grinding or so. It doesn't matter if you're somebody just watching or somebody actually doing the project. You're in that zone and you could wear it all day long and it's gonna show up. It's gonna show up black like my shirt, right, at the end of the day. So it's pretty stunning, and it's better than we say. It's better than nothing, and it's certainly it's significant. It's not trivial.
Yeah. Well, I started using them just as a welding instructor because you sent me samples. I was like, let me give this, before I knock it, let me give it a shot. And I remember the first time I put them in, my nose just like a faucet just started running. And I was like, I can't do this. Then I reached out to you and you're like, yeah, you might give it some time and your body will come adapt to it because you're putting something foreign up in your nose.
Right.
And so your body's going to want to reject that. It's like, I don't like this. Like, let's just start putting the fluid to it and get it out of here. And so I tried it again and I started using them almost every single day that I was in the lab. Even though we had at the source fume extraction, you still have students outside of the booth grinding, whether it's on the downdraft table or not, whether we're working outside, you're still exposed in these different areas. And I noticed a big difference, especially when I left welding education, because like right around the project or right around the time that I started using your product is when I got pulled out to be a program manager. So I spent significantly less time in the lab. But once I left education completely, I started doing like welding inspections on my own.
Right.
So I'm traveling into, different companies. Every company I go to is something they've got a completely different setup. Some of them have at the source fume extraction. Some of them have like the bay doors are open and you got a couple of fans blowing around and that's what you got. Some of
that's
them,
typical. Yeah.
Some of them you don't have anything. It's just like there's the shop. And so I started using them when I do inspections, just because I'm around the welders all day. I'm not actively involved in that line of work. I'm not going to put a respirator on because let's face it, it's uncomfortable. It's hot. I've got a beard. I don't want to get rid of it. Putting a freaking respirator over top of a beard it's ineffective. It's like setting up a chain link fence to keep the mosquitoes out. It's not going to work.
100%.
So I started using those just when I do inspections, and I've noticed a huge difference. I take them out at the end of the day. I blow my nose. I don't have like the black boogers and all that stuff that you typically do at the end of a work day when you're in a welding shop, and whether you're involved in the work or not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's literally stunning. And every time we get like a commercial client or something like that gets it in there, so there's always a few, there's sometimes resistance, and you get one or two guys in there to try it out and they're like, holy crap, this is unbelievable. I wish I had it 20 years ago. And, it's amazing the responses we're getting. Of course, you got to get the word out and, but once people hear about it, they want it. So, that's our biggest challenge as a small company, is to get the word out. And that's why we went to FabTech, so we're talking to Brian DePaul from Blue Demon. He goes about this time last year, he goes, Cliff, he goes, you can piddle along the way you've been going and see what happens. You might, grow here and there, but if you want to go big, you got to go to FabTech. And we're like, okay. And the next day I get online, I sign up, I write the check, and I go, okay, we're committed now. So we're going.
Yeah, it's all in.
Oh man, we are all in. Like, oh my God. It's like, because we haven't done any conventions. We haven't done any trade shows whatsoever. So we're like, okay, let's see what happens. And we overpacked. I mean, we learned a lot of stuff. We spent way too much money and overpacked and all this other stuff. But we learned a ton, and we met tons of people. And
I don't think you can like prepare for FabTech. Like I've been going since, I don't know, 2015, 2016, sometime around there. And I'm still like, every time I go, it's like, damn, I forgot this, or hey, I didn't need that, and especially now that I'm doing the podcasting thing, like I take everything in the kitchen sink with me, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, you were walking around, like schlepping, like, hey, Jason, you're going to do an interview? Oh man, I got like 6 things to do. I got to be wherever. I mean, that place is like, what, 10 football fields?
It's big, huge. And I only got to see like 10 booths by like 10 booths wide. I mean, that was like pretty much the entire area I was able to operate in. Yeah,
you look like you were like being rode hard, put away wet. It was like nonstop.
Last year was nonstop. So
it was incredible.
This year going forward, I've got a different plan. I'm not going to put it out to the universe just yet, but I've got a completely different plan and a configuration that's going to be a lot more conducive to being able to get the episodes in, but also being able to tour the show floor and then cutting out some time. Because so one thing I did the year before in Chicago is a lot easier. I did the mobile interviews. That's what I was trying to do when I was out there that one day. And, I'll try to hit, 9 to 10 different vendors and, have 10, 15-minute conversation with each one. And I think I might have got 2 the day that you saw me. And so I didn't even put an episode out. I was like, I'm not putting out, a 9-minute episode talking to, it's not going to do anything for anybody. Because I think I hit up Everlast and I was able to talk to Edge, and that was it.
Yeah, and I remember the year before it was, Chicago was like during COVID. Yeah. And it was like totally like small.
It was way easier to get around it.
Way easier. And you guys seem to be having, and I'm like, oh, why is there no time? I go, oh, this was just so much bigger.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get hardly to get away off the floor to go see anything. We were so busy. Literally, we were 2 to 3 deep the entire time we were there. Mm-hmm. So it was incredible. And the neat thing about it was several vendors would come up to us and said, this is the most important thing they've seen at the entire show. And this is our excuse me, piddly little 10 by 10 booth with our Black Boogers poster in the back. And this is a sea of like multi-million-dollar 3-story, CNC machine things, all over the place. And the guy said, this is the most important thing we've seen. The rest of it's, whatever. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, because there's 10 different manufacturers of robots and cobots and plasma cutters and all that stuff. So everybody's just got a different variation.
Yeah.
But wait because that was Atlanta. Wait till you go to Chicago next year. Are you going to Chicago next year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That one's massive, and it's not going to be like the watered down version that we had right after COVID. It's going to be like a full bore Chicago. Chicago, I think, is probably the largest one. I haven't been to Vegas, so I can't speak to that one, but I know that it's way bigger than Atlanta.
Okay. Well, that's saying something. It's 4 days and not 3. So,
yep. And I think that's why Atlanta's only 3 days. It's a smaller show just because of the smaller convention center. And I got to look at the schedule because I can't remember when they come to Orlando. If it's going to be a 3-day show or if it's going to be a 4-day show, because I think it's just filling in the spot for Vegas. But I'm not sure if Vegas is a 3 or 4 day show. Like I said, that's the only one that I haven't been able to make it to.
Yeah. So Orlando's going to be fun too. But we're really looking forward to Chicago. We're still building out the team for that. Hopefully we can get some of the same people to show up. We had Jessica Sculpted Roots show up, and she was fabulous. Instantaneous credibility because she's a welder, and, she's super authentic, and it helped out.
Now she's doing stuff for the Department of Defense and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a DoD contractor, and watching the work that she gets to do is pretty freaking cool. So
she gets well on some
way
cool
more
shit.
Intense. Yeah, way more intense than what she had before, but more responsibility. I think she's having a good time with it. So,
yeah. So what was the driving force, or like how did you come up with the idea of O2 Armor? Like where did that, where did that whole thing take place?
So it's a kind of a big story. So I've been wanting to be in enterprise my whole life. Like in high school, I did junior achievement. Do you remember that? Back in high school, they had the junior achievement where you set up a company and
yeah.
Okay, so I did that like, I don't know, 3 seasons or whatever, and had a great time. And we're selling stuff at the mall and things like that. It was just a good time. And so I've always wanted to do something. And being an airline pilot, I have a limited time frame that I get to work. So I'm going to be turning 60 this week. So, but at 65, you lose your job. It's just the way it is, right? It's a law. So, and I've wanted to have an enterprise for a long time. So probably for the last 10 years, or starting about 10 years ago, I seriously, Amy and I, my wife Amy, we're talking about doing what we're going to be doing in our, put a quote on retirement years. So we start shopping, trying to figure out some ideas. And interestingly enough, we have a friend at church. His name's Dan, and he's a marketing guy. He's got up north of Seattle here. He's got a company that markets all sorts of stuff. They have their own products. They market for other people. And he said, come on by, see what we got. What do you have? And so he's showing me all these different things. And he had this thing that's called gum chucks. And it's this set of dental floss on these sticks. It's like, you could like do martial arts with it and then floss your teeth. I go, oh man, that's fabulous. And then he showed us the filters. And I'm like, I try them out and I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. And when we left him and kind of like, we talked about it with our team about what we want to do with it. And kind of sat there, nothing. And then about a year later, I'm, in church and I'm watching Dan sing. Their wife and Amy and Dan are up there in the band. And I go, wait a second, I'm thinking, there's divine inspiration is bubbling up here right now. And I go, what would these be like at the gun range for lead dust? Because it's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. And so I tell Dan afterwards, he goes, his eyeballs just got huge because this is like a dead product for him. He doesn't know what the hell to do with it. The previous company the guy who invented it failed. They were bankrupt. And so he had this product and didn't know what to do with it. So I told him that, and he just like, wait a sec, that's probably a good sales channel. Let's go see what. So we just set up. I set up my company, and he's selling it too. And we built it from there. And that's about 5 years ago in March that we started the company, and just kind of grew it from there. And so we've talked about the progression. Eventually, I ran into the welders, and so I've been focusing on that community pretty much exclusively since then for the last 2.5 years. And so that's where it came from. And so we just built out the product. I came up with the name for the company. And the funny thing is the logo is the back of a bullet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we're trying to, come up with a brand name and everything. And I'm sitting in a hotel room on a trip, and I'm like writing all this stuff out, and you type it into the trademark the trademark, and all the stuff I put up was like, oh, there's already trademark. That's already trademark. And then I came up with O2 Armor. That's protecting your oxygen, basically, is what it is. And it was free and clear. And I'm like, holy crap, I got it. So that's where it came from.
That's pretty slick. You think it'd be pretty prevalent in the earthwork community too? Because that's how we met, was through Janine. She does concrete, but a lot of the people that are on Crew Collab, they deal with earthwork.
Yeah. And she gave me several names in that group that might be willing to talk, and you're the only one actually willing to talk.
Oh, wow.
So, which is kind of weird, but I contacted a bunch of them, and you're the one that said, hey. So
yeah, I was genuinely interested in the product. I kind of wish I would have had them when I was out in Kuwait and Iraq, because we just had dust storms all the time. It got bad one point to where we actually had to go from like our hooch area up to our maintenance bay, just because the sandstorm was so bad, it was tearing down our hooches. We had to put our gas masks on to get from point A to point B, just because the sand was hitting so hard. It was dragging contact trucks across, concrete pavement. And we put 40 Marines in each Connex box. And as we're in the Connex box, we can just feel the Connex sliding across the concrete. But it was a massive sandstorm. But that was probably the worst one. But we would get, I don't know, a couple times a month, 2-3 times a month, just like a regular sandstorm that just blows by and just kicks everything up, and then there's just dust all over freaking everything.
Well, they have those things in Phoenix that are called haboobs, and it's probably the same thing over in the Middle East because it's a Mideast word. Mm-hmm. But it's basically a wall of dust that just comes right at you, and it's like, and it hits the building at like gale force, and the whole terminal is like rattling, and there's crap flying all over the ramp, and there's baggage carts tumbling down, and it's like the same thing.
Oh, I've got pictures of like some nasty ones, just like this big orange and black wall just migrating across the desert.
Yep.
You can sit there and watch it until it shows up.
Yeah, I went to pilot training in Lubbock, Texas. And,
Okay.
Yeah, so all the dirt there is iron red, and you'd get one of these storms, and it would just be this, mile high wall of red dirt. And yeah, these filters would be perfect for that because those particles are actually fairly large. We filter effectively down at 2.5 microns at 65%. So that's most of the little tiny stuff that's really bad for you.
So now explain that. Like how big is that? I mean, like if you could put that into perspective, how big is 2.5 microns?
Well, it's way smaller than a hair. We talk about pollen. Pollen is like 10 to 15 microns. So, and you know how small that is.
Mm-hmm.
But when they talk about particle size, the big when they say like an N95 mask, that's 95% efficient at 2.5 microns. So 2.5 microns is the important measurement because that's what gets lodged in your lungs and causes the damage. It's not the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You cough that out
mucus
like I've been
takes care of
like
that.
I've been trying to do today is
Right.
cough that out. There it goes again. Anyway, so that's the important stuff. And so if you can cut the volume down as much as possible, that's where we're at. And so the filter works. It's essentially like in a furnace filter is electrostatic. So as the air blows over the fibers, they create a charge that attracts the particle. The particle sticks to the fiber. And then when you blow out, it ejects most of those sometimes. And what you see at the end of the day are the particles that actually stuck to the filter,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you see. And that's how it works. So just like your furnace filter, keeps your house clean, the O2 armor keeps your lungs clean. It just, it supports all that.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. I love my Everlast machine. The 255 EXT has been a great addition to my shop for all my TIG welding needs. I recently built a custom sissy bar for a Honda Fury and used my Everlast for all my welding. The 255 EXT features reliable arc starts, a smooth, stable arc, and has a ton of features to get dialed in on both AC and DC welding applications. Check out everlastwelders.com today and see which machine is right for you. They've got a machine for every budget. And don't forget, if you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, just type in Arc Junkies in the comment section at checkout, and Everlast is going to hook you up with a free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools. Welding instructors. Strong Hand Tools is still running their awesome promo to send schools free Strong Hand Tools. Just head on over to stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies and sign up to get free tools and join their educational discount program. That's stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies. The form takes less than 2 minutes to fill out, and you'll get free fabrication tools for your students. And the best part is, they're not going to send you a bunch of salesy emails, just quality tools. So take advantage of this awesome program while it's still available. stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies. Now let's get back into the show. Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense because you do the majority of your breathing throughout the day through your nose. I mean, unless you're talking or your nose is already stuffed up, and then then you're mouth breathing. But I mean,
right?
I mean, that's a derogatory term anymore. As you call somebody a mouth breather, it's like you're an idiot because like most people breathe through their nose. So if you're actively engaged in work, and especially you're working by yourself, your mouth's typically closed. You're doing all the breathing through your nose. So I mean, you're essentially creating a layer of armor over the point of entry.
Right. And as we've discovered, part of our campaign at FabTech, Amy goes, well, what are people saying? It says, well, you got black boogers, and which this is 20 years ago. So that's why we had the got black boogers. But the other part of that is guys like you is you got a beard. So we actually have a beard safety kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun because it's like, okay, well, here's some filters because you can't wear a mask effectively. So wear this. It's your beard safety kit. So, it's like, I'd say, I don't know, 80% of welders are bearded that are, that can have beards.
Yeah, there's a good bit of them.
Yeah, just a few. And of course, yours is the championship beard.
I don't know, but I think Danny Kiterling's got me beat. I think his is a little bit longer.
Yeah, his is pretty darn good. Hey, how's he doing, by the way?
As far as I know, he's doing good. He was just on a tour. He stopped by a couple different schools on the way back. I know he went out to see the guys over at Outlaw Leather. He popped in to see Danny Cobb. Danny's out in Arizona. And then I want to say he went and seen Chris O'Neill, and I think he's out in California. So I think he was kind of going through and doing a tour and everything. But he seems to be like awesome spirits, which is great. And I seen a TIG weld that he did the other day, and I was like, damn, like he's still got it.
Okay, good.
I mean, and he's slowly getting his motor skills back and everything.
Okay, good. That's what I was wondering, because that was freaking tragic.
Yeah. And this one of the things, like, you don't ever think that it'll happen to you.
No, we're all invincible, right?
Yeah, until you're not.
Till you're not. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but that's the other interesting thing about this whole experience that I've had in the last couple of years is there's actually kind of like a society in the welding world, and how nice people are and fun and open and, wanting to help each other out. So that's been pretty cool to watch.
I've noticed that, especially in the welding community, it seems like that just, I don't know what it is, if it's, and I think Instagram helps out a lot, but I think that just allows people better connectivity to one another. But most of the welders, like you run into a welder out in the wild and like you get along great. You go up there and just start chatting with them. Like welding's like the thing that brings everybody together. And like, yeah, there's some assholes out there. But you get that with every group. It doesn't matter, what the trade. But most welders, it's a great group. Even the folks that I hang out with out here in Central Florida, we're not all on Instagram and stuff together, but we're all welders and we all work together. And like, we pass work off to one another and we keep each other busy. And, they'll call me up and ask me questions, or I'll call them up and ask them questions. It's just like a great community. And I think welding's a little bit different than some of the other trades for some reason.
Yeah, and that's my feeling about it. I'm in a trade, but it's a little bit different. But my brother was an elevator mechanic, and they don't have any kind of like, community. It's just like, from what I could tell at the time, which is too bad. But you guys seem to have a community, and it works. Yeah,
that's why I like Fab Tech and like the Weld Summit that they're getting ready to have out there in Texas, and the inspection conference and all that stuff it's like a family reunion. You get to go and hang out with all your buddies, and because we're all from different parts of the U.S. and parts of Canada and Mexico and stuff like that, but we get together and we just have a good time.
Yeah. Then there's characters like Diesel, who's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a trip.
Take Devil. He's a total trip. He's super nice, and he's like, hey man, let's do this. And it's like, and the artists, that's the other thing is the artists. Holy crap, you got these artists, and then you got the welding, the people who'd like just do welding and stuff, but then you got the artists, and it's like, how much fun is that? It's really cool to see what's going on. We had Felipe was at Ink the Bay, and he was making all these little characters.
Yeah, like the little robots and everything out of miscellaneous parts and stuff.
We bought two of them. That's part of our collection now. So we're like, Amy named them, I don't know what the names are now, but anyway, the two of them got along really well. They both speak Spanish, so it's like really great. And he was trying our filters out the whole time, and he loves them. Like, so that's the kind of thing that you've got this really, really great art community, plus the guys who are like the regular welders and stuff like that. But it's kind of fun to watch that, to see how that works out.
Yeah, and then you get some of them that do the artwork, but they also do like the welding. Like Jessica's one of them. She's the one, if I remember correctly, she's the one that inspired Scott Robbie to get into like the roses and the dream catchers.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, but she's also a welder for the building vehicles and repair work for the Department of Defense.
Right.
And then you got Scott Robbie that does like these amazing pieces of art, but he's also like a badass pipe welder. And then Dabs Wellington, everybody's familiar with Dabs. They know his work. But he was doing conveyor systems and stuff for like food grade facilities and all kinds of different stuff. But he does like awesome artwork as well. Yeah,
and the other thing that I've really enjoyed is learning about like the different industries. So part of the cool thing about learning about being in this, just going into business is meeting all these people and then calling them and say, well, what does your company do? And then you go down this whole laundry list. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It's like, you guys make water tanks? Oh, do you make the onion water tanks? Oh yeah, we do that. And like, we're really family run business. And it's like, you hear the whole story and it's like, that's the other part of this is like, it really energizes me when I get to talk to people about what they're actually doing and what's important to them. Right. And, if we can support that, we can support that. But otherwise it's just fun to meet people that way and what they're doing.
Yeah. That's the great thing about this trade is usually when you run into another welder, your next question is, what kind of work do you do?
Right.
I mean, just because there's so many different facets. I mean, you got aerospace, you got ironworking, you got pipe welding, you got fabrication, manufacturing. I mean, there's just so many different facets you can get into. And like you said, you run into people that are making water towers, or you get people that are over here making, kiln rotators, or,
exactly,
whatever,
trommels
pads,
or whatever,
all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. I ran into somebody at FabTech, and she's studying how to weld stuff in space.
Oh yeah, Amaret. Yeah, I just had her on the podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, did you? Okay, cool. She's really awesome, and I think she finally tried out our filters, but she was pretty cool. She came by several times and we chatted up. And said, well, what are you doing? Well, I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was kind of joking with her. She's like, I think I'm ready to be on the podcast, and I was like, well, can you talk about anything? And she's like, well, I've got a few things I can talk about. I was like, okay, cool. Because it was like, oh, what do you want to talk about? It's classified.
It's classified.
It's classified, or it's like patent pending and stuff like that, which I get.
Exactly.
She doesn't want to release that information, and some of the stuff she can't discuss just because she's signed, paperwork stating that she would. And I had to do the same thing the first time I chatted with her. I decided, she's like, yeah, we could schedule a call for like Wednesday at, this time or whatever. And she's like, but I got to send you an NDA first before I can talk to you. And I was like, okay. So I read through it. I was like, holy shit, this is legit.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But yeah, that's the other thing is, like, if you just open their eyes and see what's going around and talking to people, it's fascinating what they're doing. It's just absolutely fascinating. This is a thing about, I don't know, the general knowledge of the world is, people just like, it just shows up. The product, whatever they're using in life, just shows up in their life, right? They have no idea how intricate it is to get it to them.
Yeah.
What the process is to get it to them, and all the steps and all the people that have to touch that in order for you to get a welded chair. I mean, just, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like, you look around at stuff and like, well, how did they make that beer barrel? Well, there's some company out there that makes beer barrels, and there's a couple guys who are welding beer barrels, right? And it's a whole process. And you just see the beer barrel. You don't have any idea that it's like, actually a skill, and it's somebody's putting their heart into that.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like the funny thing. Well, I don't know if it's funny or not, but like people, they look down on skilled trades, and they're like, oh, well, I guess you couldn't make it, in education. So you took a welding gig or whatever. You went to learn, you went to trade school to learn how to become a welder or an electrician, or, because you couldn't make it in college. And it's like, do you realize that the majority of the stuff that you have in your house that you buy as a consumer, you wouldn't have that if it wasn't for people that were skilled trades?
Yeah.
I mean, look what happens.
It's an unfortunate level of arrogance.
Look what happens when, if a trucker goes on strike. Guess what? Within 3 days, you're not eating. Yeah. All the food's gone. You're not going to be able to get anything at a restaurant, nothing at a grocery store. Truckers go on strike, it would shut this country down.
Absolutely.
And that's blue collar. It's a bunch of guys and gals that, they weren't smart enough for college, so they went and got their CDL. No.
Yeah.
That's not.
And that's what Mike Rowe is talking about all the time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think
guys
about
like that.
Everything that you touched is made.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I've been to college, but technically I'm in a kind of a blue collar job. I'm a heavy equipment operator. It just happens to be airplanes, and that's not appealing. It's not necessarily appealing to my kids, but it's appealing to other people's kids. The same thing with welding or any other trade. You gotta be open to it.
Yeah. I don't know. Being a pilot, that sounds like a pretty badass job.
It's fun.
Commercial and military.
The military was really fun. So.
Yeah. So do you fly international, or are you pretty much domestic flights only, or?
Well, I I fly a lot to Hawaii, and I can go to international like Mexico and the Caribbean, but I don't do that very often.
Okay.
So
no European trips and none of that?
not yet.
Okay. I think that'd be kind of cool because, I mean, like sometimes you get layovers or you're there for a couple days before you have to catch a bird and fly that one back to where it's going.
Exactly. Hey, I'm going to go get a cup of hot water.
Yeah.
If we can just delay just a second.
Sure.
Hang on. Yeah, it kind of blows when you just kind of seize up.
Oh, yeah, no. Need some tea.
Yeah. Oh, this is nice. I put some lemon in hot water.
Oh, there you go. You got to put a little bit of whiskey in there.
That's afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of whiskey, so we've started this discussion several times. What are you enjoying right now?
Right now I've got ice cold water, but typically I've been big into Buffalo Trace for a while, and so that's been a go-to. My buddy Bryson Ward gave me a bottle of Four Roses, which I was kind of hesitant for a while to like buy any Four Roses, but he got me a Select Barrel. And that was pretty damn good. So I think I'm a Four Roses fan now.
Yeah. Have you tried any rye?
Yeah, a little bit. I got the Metallica blackened Rye of the Lightning. That one's actually pretty good. You got to give it a shot first, literally and figuratively. Yeah, that one's a pretty good one. Let's see there. Oh, so I went to Mount Vernon with my son to see George Washington's estate and all that stuff. Well, apparently George Washington, there's like so much to this dude. He had, like his farm and everything like that, but he got into distilling. So he came out with different bourbons and stuff like that. And the bourbon that he has is a rye. And that one's actually pretty damn good. So I bought 2 bottles of that. One of them I already drank because it's a small bottle, but it's delicious. The only place you can get it is at Mount Vernon or at the gift shop at Mount Vernon, or at the actual distillery, which unfortunately the middle school kids didn't get to tour the distillery, which is, once again, very unfortunate. I would have enjoyed that one. But they won't ship it across state lines. So they will only ship it to you if you live in the state of Virginia. So I was like, okay, let me get 2 bottles or whatever, just because I can't come back. And if it's any good, I'll figure out a way to get back up here. So I killed the 1 bottle within the first 2 weeks of coming back from Washington.
Sounds like it was good then.
Oh, it was delicious. And I'm not a big fan of rye. And I thought I was like, okay, like it's George Washington's original recipe. And I was like, how good is this going to be from like that time frame? And like, it's pretty damn good. I mean, they stuck with the tradition because they still do it the traditional way that he had it set up back when he was running it.
Right. So they follow his recipe.
Yeah. So that one's really good. The other bottle that I have, I'm waiting until we open up the new school down here, and then I'm going to tap into that one. That's going to be like a celebratory one. So
are you going to have any instructional place in the new school, or are you kind of out of instruction? What's
no, so I'm going to teach. So we'll have the 40-hour-a-week comprehensive class. That's the one I'm going to teach. And then I've got some buddies that'll teach. They'll help me teach on the weekends when we do the weekend TIG and weekend MIG classes. And then I have another instructor that'll probably do the night classes, which will be, a 6-week program, 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 9 p.m.
Oh, cool. So is that the same campus that you were at before, or something different?
No, so I actually buying Stephanie Hoffman's Underground Metalworks, and we're moving that from Forked River, New Jersey to Orlando, Florida.
Okay, cool. I was wondering, I haven't been keeping up. Sorry about that, but
no worries.
It looked like
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it looked like there was something going on with her, but I didn't really key into it at all. So you're moving her school down to where you're at.
Yep.
That's outstanding.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've been self-performing a lot of the work lately. So like right before the podcast, we were down there installing the brackets to hold the air conditioning units, because they're going to be mounted on the walls outside. We got split units and everything because it's Florida. Yeah, I'm going to have an air conditioned shop. Why not?
Yeah.
we have the technology. And then went through and started painting like the storefront area and all that stuff this afternoon. Tomorrow we're going to go back, do some more painting, hang the other AC unit, get everything punched out, and start getting that set up. And we got another company that's going to come in and start doing the paint work. And then I'm hiring the original artist that did the graffiti work inside of Stephanie's shop. He's going to come down here. He lives up in Jersey, but he's got family like right next to the school, damn near.
Oh, so my goodness.
We're going to try it. Yeah, it seems like every contractor that Steph used either lives in Orlando, Florida, moved to Orlando, Florida, or vacations in Orlando, Florida on a regular basis.
So they're like totally familiar with it.
Oh yeah, it's been perfect. Like the guy that did her ventilation system, he's based out of Orlando. The guy that, like I said, the guy that does the paint work and everything, he was he's got family over in Winter Park. And then the guy that did like the majority of her interior build out retired and moved to Florida. Orlando.
Oh my goodness.
Orlando,
so
of all places.
You're just recreating the whole thing.
Pretty much.
When again did you say you're going to open?
July 17th will be day one of the first classes. So we'll have we're going to keep it the same, 5 students per class. We may add a 6th station if there's demand for it. I mean, right now we're just starting off. So if we get that demand, we might expand it to 6, but I'm not going any more than 6 students. And that's just because one of the classes that I taught, I had 6 students in that class, and it was probably one of the best classes I've ever taught, just because there's so much one-on-one time with the instructor. I think any more than that, you really start losing that one-on-one connection with, what's actually taking place as far as learning.
Right. That's fabulous.
It should be a lot of fun. We've been self-performing the majority. We did, my buddy and I, so I got a business partner in this venture. We did all the framing. We did all the concrete cutout work. We did all the insulation. We hired the drywall done. We did all the interior cleaning as far as we got a steam cleaner, pressure washer, like when we first got into the building, and just went through from top to bottom, like ceiling, walls, floor, scrubbed everything out, got it all prepped, starting to get new equipment and stuff like that. And then we fly up to Jersey on the 28th of June. We're going to load everything up in a 40-foot Connex box. We fly back July 3rd, and then that trailer should be making its way back down probably, I would imagine, after the 4th of July holiday and all that. And then we'll offload it and start setting it up. But we did the majority of the electrical work ourselves. Well, my buddy did, because he's into electrical and all that stuff. We hired a regular licensed electrician to set up the panels and run a lot of the stuff, and then we just, put all the connections and all that stuff on the ends.
Nice. Well, that's a time to celebrate. And so I have an exclusive for you. And we're celebrating here also because we now have a national distributor for O2 Armor.
Oh, congrats.
And that's through Welding Material Sales Blue Demon. Okay. And they're going to be our Brian's going to be repping us and going to all the shows and stuff like that and working through trying to get the welding supply houses to carry O2 Armor. So we're pretty excited about that.
Oh, very cool.
So it's a big deal. And so from your audience, if they want our product, they should ask their local dealer, hey, do you have O2 Armor? That would be a super help for us. Okay. And then they'll call Brian or whatever and go, hey man, do you guys have it? So that'd be great.
Yeah, I got to link you guys up with my distributor down here in Orlando. They're freaking awesome.
Okay, cool.
I mean, they only operate they run the entire East Coast. So that's pretty much the only place they have stores, all the way from, I think, Miami, Florida, up to, what the hell, New Hampshire, I think is high up on the East Coast as they go. But everything's right there on the East Coast.
Which one is that? Which one is
Robert's
that?
Oxygen.
Oh, okay. I think I talked to them actually at FabTech. Yeah,
I mean, they're great people. Customer service is second to none. Anytime I go in there, I mean, they carry over $1 million worth of inventory right there in the store. So I'm never waiting on parts, never waiting on consumables. I walk in and I'm like, hey, I need this, that, and the other thing to fit this, make and model a machine, or I need these specific electrodes. And they're like, okay, how many you need? And they'll just run out and grab it. I mean, they've got everything right there.
Yeah. Cool.
No, they've been awesome to work with, and that's who we're going to utilize at the school as well for all of our gas and supplies and all that stuff.
Right. I bet they'll really like that.
Oh, yeah. We've already got it set up.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they're good people.
Nice, man. That's exciting venture. That's a big deal, but it's good that you're, expanding off of that. So I got a question for you, and maybe I asked it to you a couple of years ago, but how did you get the podcast? Because somebody else had it before.
So Jimmy McKnight had it before, and then we were good friends. We met down in Houston, Texas. I was with Weld.com at the time. And I think that was 2019, somewhere around in that time frame. And we just got to chatting. He was getting ready to go take a CWI and stuff. And then fast forward a couple years later, during COVID, he called me up and asked me if I wanted to take over the show. And I was like, yeah, I thought about it for a while. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't want to see that resource for young welders that are up and coming. I don't want to see that resource go away. So,
right.
Yeah,
he was just kind of done, wasn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to get out of the welding industry. I think he got into real estate a little bit. Got into, I think he's doing mechatronics type stuff now. So he's like programming and repairing robots and dealing with all that stuff. So I think he's a lot happier doing that. I don't know. He's up in Michigan, so I guess like the welders up in that area where he's at, it's just not like a high paying career. But I mean, he found something that he's enjoying and he's getting paid good money. So
nice,
more power to him. I mean, it's been a blast taking over the podcast and kind of watching it grow and kind of doing different things with it.
Yeah, because then you're definitely going to make it your own. And so, how do you find people to talk to? I mean, what's your
because I go to so many different events, I get to meet a lot of different people. So I start chatting with them, and I went up to the AISC convention, and I met some people up there that I'm planning on having the podcast. So I just go to a lot of these different conventions and seminars and things like that, and you find these people that are really embedded in the welding community. They're very passionate about what they do, and they got a lot of information that they want to share. And so, I'll just invite them out on the show, or I'll be scrolling through Instagram and I'll see somebody that's doing some really cool work, and I'll reach out and say, hey, if you're interested, I'd love you to, come on and tell folks how you got to where you're at today, because not everybody has the same story. Some people go through welding school. Some people started off welding just because, their dad was into it like way back in the day and taught them that trade, or, they saw it on a TV show and they practiced in their garage and they got a welder for Christmas one year. And, everybody's got a different story how they got from A to B. And it's just been a really cool ride talking to all the different folks that come on the show.
Yeah. It's like I was talking to Bob Moffat about a year ago, and that guy's a character. And the two of us were, I told you had some background in metallurgy, and I've forgotten more than I remembered. But half an hour into it, and we're talking about phase diagrams and austenite and all this other stuff. Totally geeking out. I'll go, man, where did I pull that out of? It's like, and that guy is like, he's a total metallurgical engineer, and he doesn't have the degree in that, but it doesn't matter. He's like freaking knows it all.
Oh yeah, he's a good dude. He's old school, man. I don't know what he's up to now. I gotta give him a shout. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him for a while, and he didn't show up at. He wasn't at
Ink the Bay.
Ink the Bay, was he? He was supposed to be, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was coming out.
Yeah, it was too bad because there's a bunch of people I wanted to actually see, and they didn't show up.
Yeah, he'll most likely. I would imagine he'll be at FabTech in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen. Yeah, I don't think he's missed a FabTech yet.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I really like him.
Yeah, I've had him on the podcast a couple of times. We worked together for a little bit over at Weld.com.
Oh, okay.
So we got to
that's
hang
right.
out quite a bit, and we only got to do a couple videos. What sucked is like shortly after I started, I guess his house flooded out in Arc City. So like he was having problems getting, trying to handle everything that he had going on at home and getting back to fly out to Largo, Florida to shoot videos.
Right.
And I think right about the time he got everything buttoned up and squared away, that's right when we did we built that grill for Sam the Cooking Guy. And the camera guy and I, we went off on a 2-week road trip to deliver this grill to San Diego, California. So it was a lot of fun, man. I was looking back at some of that stuff the other day.
Yeah, it's like those are great experiences, and I have to say our time in Tampa was a great experience with the team. Because it was so slow on Saturday, and it should have been a madhouse on Saturday.
Yeah,
we decided to pack up for Sunday, so we went to the beach.
Yeah, I think
and we all got sunburned.
Yeah. I think everybody kind of pulled the pin. It was like Saturday afternoon,
right? And then we were there till 11 o'clock that night, partying and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. And then the team just said, "Hey, let's pack it up and go."
Yeah, you guys went out and checked out Clearwater Beach.
We went to it wasn't Clearwater. It was South Bay. So we went around the south side. I can't remember the town. Okay, but it was super nice. Busy. Hard to find a parking spot.
It's a good area. Like St. Petersburg's a good spot to hang out in. Clearwater, all that stuff.
Yeah, this was south of that on the other side of the bay.
Okay.
Can't remember the name.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to pitch up and go hang out at the beach.
Yeah, we rented a tent, some umbrellas and some chairs, and had a good time. And So
yeah, it's a good spot to do it. I was out there last Friday. I went out there because the camera guy from Weld.com, he's actually not with Weld.com anymore. He's moving back to Pennsylvania. He's got some big job in marketing and stuff like that. So my buddy Brian Legalio, or Bingo Welds, we got together and we went to the shooting range. And then after that, we went out to the Urban Stillhouse, which is, again, bourbon. The guys that came out. Ooh. Have you ever had Horse Soldier bourbon?
No.
Okay, you got to, if you can find Horse Soldier bourbon, check that out. If not, when you come down to Orlando, I'll hook you up with a bottle.
Okay.
It's really good stuff. But so, have you ever seen that movie 12 Strong? It's about the Army Special Forces guys that went into Afghanistan right after 9/11 on horseback.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
So 4 of those guys came back, and they decided that they wanted to get into making bourbon. And so they came back, they started making bourbon and everything. They actually found this scrapyard that had some of the I-beams from when the Twin Towers fell. And so they go chat with this dude at the scrap metal yard, and they're like, yeah, we want to buy some of this stuff, and, you know, like, because here's what we want to do with it. We want to melt it down, and we want to make the molds for our bottles out of the steel that came from the Twin Towers.
Wow.
And the guy kind of like brushed him off, I guess. This is the story that I've heard. The guy kind of brushed him off. He's like, yeah, cool story, bro. Whatever, you know, thanks for coming out. So they leave. Well, a couple weeks later, like a couple semis just roll up to their shop and offload the steel from the Twin Towers. So they actually, you know, cut this stuff apart.
They just gave it to him.
Just gave it to him, like no questions asked. So they smelted it down and all that stuff, and they made the mold for their bottles. And then, so after the bourbon and everything kicked off, they decided to open a couple restaurants. So there's one in St. Petersburg, and then I want to say the other one's in Tennessee. Why not Kentucky? I don't know, but I think the other one's in Tennessee. It would make sense for in Kentucky. But they also have, I guess they still make their bourbon in the backside of this restaurant. They're still, you know, formulating their recipe and all that stuff and distilling bourbon. Like in the restaurant, I mean, you can see the barrels up on the ricks inside the building. So it's pretty cool. So we went out there to dinner that night because I'm a bourbon dork. I've been wanting to go out there for a while. And I was like, oh, man, like Todd lives out that way. Brian lives out that way. Like I'm 2.5 hours away. But I was like, screw it. You know, I'll ride out there, you know, to see my buddy off. So we went and had some drinks and had dinner. Well, I had some drinks. They drank water. But we had like a really good freaking dinner. It's so if you come back to St. Pete, like check out the Urban Stillhouse. It's really good.
Urban Stillhouse. Okay.
Yeah. Or if you're up in Tennessee, they got the other location up there.
Which town in Tennessee?
I'd have to Google it. I can't remember. Actually, I can pull it up right now. Okay. I guess it's Somerset, Kentucky. So that does make sense. It's in Kentucky.
Okay. It is in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Good. That's where bourbon places should be. Although we have a local
this winter.
Oh, okay.
So
we have a local bourbon made here in near Seattle, and it's fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, they make it like bourbon, so it's bourbon.
Mm-hmm. We got one down here, and so my wife and I went to St. Augustine back in February for our anniversary, and they have a distillery there. So they do their bourbon, but they make it with sugar cane. So it's actually
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Almost like rum bourbon.
Kind of. But you really can't taste it. I guess during the fermentation process and everything, a lot of the sugar alcohols and everything burn off.
Right. It's the
good.
aging in oak that matters.
Yeah. That's a big thing. It's got to be a new oak aged barrel, you know, number 4 alligator char and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was chatting with Frank Vargas with Uniweld. Because he's a big bourbon guy. He likes bourbon.
Yeah.
I guess he's talking about doing like some bourbon tasting club and everything. But he's down in Miami. I was like, dude, you got to come up to Orlando. Well, you know, I'd love to be part of your tasting group.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Oh, I mean, and the history behind it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. We'll have to link up and have a couple drinks. Are you going to, so I know at FabTech Chicago, we're doing the Blue Demon, Outlaw Leather, Weld Porn meet and greet that the Sunday before at the Hard Rock Live. I think they're just going to start promoting that this week on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, let me talk to Brian about that. I wouldn't mind actually getting linked up into one of those and you know, helping sponsor that. I don't know if it's too late or not.
Yeah, reach out to Brian.
Yeah, I will. It was fun. I love the one last fall. It was absolute mayhem in there, but everybody had a good time. Yeah, I thought both venues were good.
Yeah, so I mean, like the one in Atlanta, I was like, it was a lot smaller for the amount of people that we had show up. Because we walked in, we're like, oh yeah, this would be like the perfect size. And the next thing you know, man, it's like literally standing room only, shoulder to shoulder,
Right.
Everywhere. I don't know how we like. I don't. It was we probably exceeded the maximum occupancy.
Yes,
I would imagine, because just like I got some videos from it, and it's like there's nowhere to move. Yeah, it was packed.
Yeah,
but I think the one up in Chicago is a little bit bigger of an area. It's a little bit more spread out and stuff.
Yeah, but it may be just as packed.
It could be, hopefully.
Yeah,
if everything works out, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people at that one. It was really fun, and then the next night was good too. It was a little mellower of a venue, but it was just as good.
Yeah, that was you came out to the Arcs Nails one for AWS.
Arcs Nails.
Yeah, that one's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more low key. Still a good time.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
We'll be doing that one again too. I got to get the details for that. Stephanie and I are hosting Arcs Nails again for the Arcs Nails in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be a good one.
Cool.
I got to get the details for all that stuff. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always a good time. And like once again, it's like a family reunion. I think you end up having a little bit more fun during and meeting more people, I think, during the after hours events than you actually do at FabTech. Just because everybody's got like an agenda, everybody's got a schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like, oh, I got a robot go down all these things, or I know I've got a target over on the other.
Yep. Everybody's got like a little map they got to hit. Everything's circled.
Exactly.
They got to run from A to B and everything. Try to get as much, FaceTiming as they can with certain companies and stuff like that. So it's a madhouse. But then once you get to the after hours, like there's no schedule. It's like just sit back, have a drink, relax, chit chat. Meet some new people, network. It's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that anybody who's like kind of touching this business and is thinking about having a booth at FabTech is my advice is just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience is that we spent a bunch of money and had a good time, and we met a lot of people, and it's still paying dividends. Here it is, the end of May. 9-10 months afterwards, and it's still paying dividends. I'm still getting phone calls from people. It's like, hey, I just refound your filters in my bag, and I tried them out, and let's set you up as a customer or a supplier.
Mm-hmm.
So it pays off for a long time, and it's really worth it. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun too.
It's totally fun. I mean, it's like, we got the first time we actually had our team together, right? And everybody got to coalesce, and we got to improve our message.
Mm-hmm.
We get to figure out what where we're at and what we want and how we want to be with our customers and our friends, right? I want to be authentic and honest and have fun and really help people out.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to coalesce that kind of message. So it was good that way.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, especially, like if you're an up-and-coming business and everything, to get out there and start linking up with some of the other companies, because just like, the welding industry, everybody's willing to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, do this,
mm-hmm.
don't do that, like avoid this. Oh, we tried this event and it didn't work out. Like, they let you know kind of like the ins and outs of everything that's going on. They'll catch you up to speed pretty quick.
Right. So, go for it.
Yeah. Well, Cliff, before we get out of here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your products?
Well, thanks, Jason, for the opportunity to talk today. It was really fun. You can directly purchase O2 Armor from our website, o2armor.com. You can find us on Amazon also. But it's a lot nicer to buy it directly from our website. So,
mm-hmm. And then you guys are on Instagram as well?
Yes, we are. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but not as much on Facebook.
O2 Armor on Instagram as well?
Yeah, O2 Armor. And they're finding Instagram is kind of petering out quite a bit, and we're getting more traction off of TikTok.
Oh, yeah. TikTok's blowing up.
Yeah, we had a TikTok blow up at beginning of March, just before Ink the Bay. And so far now it's up to 7.4 million views. We're
nice.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's just like, and it's the stupidest video you've ever seen in your life.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, it's like, what caused the algorithm to grab this and throw it out into the world? And everybody's like, so we had like guerrilla sales. It was just like insane. So
Yeah, it's
pretty
weird
good
how
month.
that happens. Like, you put a lot of time and effort into one video, and it like gets absolutely nothing, and then you
Nothing.
post something ridiculous, and then boop, you know, next thing you know, it goes viral.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I have no idea. But my guy Garin, who I brought on just before, I think he started in January. He's done a really good job, and he was with us at Ink the Bay, and he's doing a good job and consistently putting stuff out, which is what we need to do.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. It's been great chatting with you. I look forward
you
to
too.
Catching back up with you at FabTech.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you're enjoying the show, please do me a solid and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps the show a ton, and it allows more welders to find the podcast. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.